don't know how anybody could possibly get stuck. It's actively frustrating. Unless you're just honestly not very good at the game and you're struggling with the fights, which what we did was this stuff where you're walking around with a meter, listening for beeps to get to like a certain spot to do something, and then you move on and just do that 4 times, you know? And for that, it was just frustrating. It's fine. Like, a lot of these fights are very, very hard, but it's also like your job.
Ironic. Hello? Hello.
I have been asked for a reaction video about the Time of Opportunities trailer.
Скіфе, радий тебе бачити, друже. Glad to see you, buddy.
Take that dog! Take that dog! Take that dog!
І тоді ти зможеш побачити зону по-своєму.
It really was nothing special. Let me take this. Oh, look, it is. It's the man himself, Michele Figarini.
Sì, fratello, how you doing, buddy?
You know, still catching my breath after the last trailer, watching reaction videos. There's one that's been on my mind by, you probably know him, Luke Stevens.
Oh, dai, I know about the video you saying. Yes, I watched this, Luca, baby darling. He, the proud skeptic, he go into the Stalker 2 very casually, you know, like somebody who only know the dominoes, going into a pizzeria, a real Italian pizzeria where they make the pizza in a brick oven. And when he get the pizza, he's so confused because it's floppy, it's not stiff, because the edge got the char, and he think, oh, this pizza is not a good pizza because it is not like Domino's, what I like. But the truth is, look, baby darling, you're not going to the Olive Garden, you're not going to the Domino's when you go play Stalker. It is like the real Italian cuisine. You got to understand, this is not... You are the typical Americano who go to Italian restaurant and is looking for the starter and the entree. Entree is a French word. You go to Italian restaurant, you go for the primi piatti, secondi piatti, and of course your antipasti before. But no, you are so confused. It's frustrating because he is angry that the Stalker 2 work exactly like a Stalker 2 supposed to work.
Figarini, I'll call you back, man. Why is it always about food with Michele Figarini? I didn't receive an invitation to go to Games Fest, and therefore I didn't get a chance to play the Stalker 2 demo that was just shared there. Apparently that was only for serious games journalists as well as Luke Stevens. And yeah, I'm a little salty that I didn't get to play. And overall, it's so exciting to see that everyone who played, or lots of people who played it, gave it really, really good feedback. They were very impressed. And there was one reaction that was fairly strange, or a little bit of an outlier, which was Luke Stevens. Even though that did seem strange at first, the things he said were kind of on point.
From the impressions of people who played Stalker 2 at Games Fest, including Luke,
and ultimately it was very Stalker.
This is very clearly going to be a deep game. This is not just a run and gun first person shooter, although if you played the first one you already knew that, but
I had a great time. It's so good to see Stalker back in action.
I can't wait to play more.
It was, in my humble opinion, the worst thing we tried at the show, and that's a bummer.
It's very clear that Stalker 2 is deeply rooted in its Stalker DNA, and this is where many fans who have been skeptical about Stalker 2 collectively release a sigh of relief. I've been telling you guys for more than a year now, Stalker 2 is gonna be a Stalker game. And like the originals, Stalker 2 is not a game that should be approached casually, and Luke unfortunately found this out, leaving him with the impression of it being the worst demo showcased all weekend, despite having an excellent trailer in his words. He also said that everyone in his circle felt the same way, complaining that the game was experiencing screen tearing, which does check out actually, and he had other graphical complaints that I just can't address because I wasn't invited to play the demo! But the main thing that stood out was Luke's frustrations with gunplay and just encounters in general. The way that Luke described his encounter with an electrical anomaly just goes to show that these are actually issues of skill.
What the hell would I need a bolt?
Contrast that to the overwhelmingly positive feedback from different media, IGN, GameSpot, Games Radar, PC Gamer, and surely a few others, including Jake Baldino. It's clear that the demo satisfied the journalists who know what Stalker is and knew what they were walking into.
And let me tell you, it is so freaking hard, but so good. The zone is a dangerous place.
So it's to be expected that someone who doesn't know what they're getting into will feel like crap when they're at the bottom of the totem pole of the zone. Entering the zone is rough for the lowest common denominator of stalkers, and if you're new to Stalker, this is what you are. One of the unfortunate things for new players is that Stalker needs to be hard on them, or else it treads over the fine line that sets it apart from generic open-world shooters. If the game gave you all the answers of survival upon entering the zone, it would rob itself of one of its greatest strengths, which is mystery. I do speak for myself when I say that most of the games that I've come to love now made me uncomfortable in the first few hours, Stalker included. Kingdom Come Deliverance is one of my favorite games of all time, and it absolutely treats you like shit when you start. Because that is exactly what you are when you're just some random blacksmith's son in buttfuck nowhere, Bohemia. Alan Wake 2 is a game that I hated at first because I didn't have the patience to understand what was happening in front of me, until I did. And now it's a game that I can't shut up about, and I'm on the verge of 100%ing it. The Witcher 3 is a game that I avoided for the longest time because fantasy monster hunting games are straight up not near the top of the list of things that interest me, and this white-haired dude just looks weird. But it now sits as my second most played game on Steam, after Kingdom Come Deliverance.
May eternal light guide his way. Amen.
Amen.
I was also a couple of years late to Cyberpunk because, man, that game just looked weird and it had me rolling my eyes at everything it showed me for the first few hours. It's now my most played game on GOG and one of the few experiences I deem actually life-changing. So why do I say all of this? Because maybe struggling is a necessary component for some games in making an impactful experience for the player. And hopefully guys like Luke can be encouraged to just stick with the games a little bit longer, especially if you think the trailer looks good because you like something there.
This looks interesting. This trailer's actually really good.
But the demo you played wasn't something you enjoyed. Chances are you just need more time to figure it out.
Maybe you can figure it out.
And to prove it, I'm going to run Luke's impressions in parallel to your first time playing Shadow of Chernobyl. If you've only gotten into gunfights with a PMM in your hands, or even the short AK, you'd think that the gunplay sucks, especially if you're doing it with a controller. This is because gunplay optimized for playing on a mouse is far less forgiving on a controller, especially when compared to easily accessible games typically targeted at the console demographic. Compare something like Call of Duty or Halo to Insurgency Sandstorm or Hell Let Loose, for instance. When I got this Xbox here, Halo was super easy to pick up and kick ass in at high difficulty, but for the other two, I had to learn how to shoot all over again. The Stalker trilogy included, actually, because I played it on console. So this is to be expected for Stalker because this is what Stalker is supposed to do. The gunplay is supposed to be challenging. Back to Luke's anecdote. If you tried to cross the Cordon Tunnel without knowing how electrical anomalies work, and wondering why the hell you'd need a bolt...
Why the hell would I need a bolt?
You'd think they're broken and BS. It just so happens that you're not getting the pieces of the puzzle to fit, and it's up to you to figure it out. While most games would give you an invasive, immersion-breaking pop-up, robbing you of the experience of solving this small mystery, like in Rage 2, which, at one moment in the game, you're being ambushed, and the game stops you, saying, "Yo, you're being ambushed." And when you press continue, your character gets on the radio and says, "Yo, I'm being ambushed." Why don't you just let the player be ambushed and deal with it? Stalker encourages you to figure it out on your own by killing you over and over and over again. It is interesting that Luke went on to explain how broken his encounter with an anomaly was, only to end up just describing exactly how anomalies and artifact detectors work. And it just happened that he hadn't figured it out yet. And trust me, give him a bit more time and he would have. You know, Stalker is a series in which games progress very organically through the world. You don't get pop-up tutorials telling you how things work, and you shouldn't, because you can only find out through engaging with the world intuitively. It's part of the charm of the game, using your own senses and curiosity to learn. This form of game design is known as allocentric game design, as opposed to the modern egocentric trends. A good illustration of it is how, in Morrowind, back in Elder Scrolls 3, you would navigate by reading road signs, talking to people. You manage your quest by actually reading the notes on your journal as opposed to just following a waypoint or a checklist. Allocentric games require a high level of awareness and concentration from the player, and Stalker falls into that category. You just get better by getting better, learning about the world, playing its economy, and building relations to get better equipment, knowing what your detector and the bolts in your pocket are for.
Beeping might get really loud. And beep, 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 and then you walk over here and it gets quieter. Beep, 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 beep.
So by pursuing allocentric design, it's kind of an anti-modern game. Compare that to the Star Wars Outlaws demo, which Luke was impressed by. It throws a skill perk menu in your face before even reaching the first minute of the showcase. If you like that, that's fine, and it's actually the standard in this industry, but some players would prefer there to be more depth in the world before there's depth in leveling up and crafting systems. So when it comes to Stalker's allocentric attitude towards the player, anyone used to checklist games, which is what I'm going to call them, who's expecting an immediately accessible modern game that tells them what to do, just when they walk in the zone, they'll be clueless and it might feel outdated, which is the description we heard. Feel outdated. It's probably because modern games inform us way too much. I know Luke is a smart guy, and I know that once he gets a proper go at the game and understands what's going on around him, he'll be absorbed by it. He is gonna get it, and he's not gonna want it any other way. I know he's gonna really like Stalker 2. By the way, Luke, you've got less than 3 months to play the original 3 games. And I want to watch your review on it. I did not play the Stalker 2 demo at GameFest, and Luke did. And while I do think that his coverage was poor and incomprehensive, and we should expect better from him as an independent games journalist, kind of, he certainly knows more about what he experienced than I do. I want to make that absolutely clear. But many critics who walked in knowing what to expect from Stalker did play the demo at GamesFest, and they were very satisfied, and that's what matters most to fans. Stalker 2 is a game for its fans, not the lowest common denominator. And that's what makes Stalker work. It's kind of is an indie game still, which is why they are able to do this. And I think many players are just starving for an experience like this. Stalker is just not afraid to put you through all the stages of the Dunning-Kruger effect when it challenges you to master it. Many modern games are afraid to put you in the Valley of Despair, and they'll just grant you that position of mastery for free. Stalker lets you experience the journey towards mastery in its completion. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't treat you like shit. It doesn't hurl you into the Valley of Despair. This is just what normal life is in the zone, and you're just another Stalker. But in the exact same way, it doesn't rescue you from just being another Stalker, which means that it's up to you to dig yourself out of that Valley of Despair once you fall into it, and every step of that journey feels earned. A journey like that takes you through a series of emotions that you'll never forget. It's why this series is so beloved and alive and kicking so long after its original releases. If you feel like you're not getting it when it comes to Stalker, just remember that there is a yet at the end of that statement. Thank you for joining me in this video. I would love to hear your thoughts, and thank you so much for your support. That's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you. If you're a member of the CIA, thank you. And to everyone else, still, thank you for your viewership. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I'm really glad to have you here.